Hey guys, I'm sorry I couldn't make it to class with you there in warm Kirkland, Washington, but I had to be at the International Training Center in Vegas for the Carpenters. So I'm gonna have to give you my presentation via video. Anyhow, I am gonna explain to you my ethical dilemma between business and ministry. Oftentimes, these two things seem like they're um, conflicting, but God's really blessed me in a way of showing me how I can participate in ministry and also participate in business leadership. And I want to share with you that ethical dilemma and that process that brought me to this point. So I'm a full-time commercial carpenter. I have been for about 10 years. I'm also a very business-minded leader, sometimes an entrepreneur. I'm also a youth ministry volunteer by church and have been for about 10 years there as well. And of course, I'm a husband and now a newly father. So, needless to say, my life's been pretty busy. And at some point, back around 2010 or 2011, I really came to this point of conflict and asking myself, where's this all going, right? You sign up and say, all right, I'm going to go back to school. I'm going to get my degree finished. Around 2009, my wife heard a commercial from Northwest on 105.3 for their LEAP program, and enthusiastically, I jumped in right away, jumped into the ministry program, and was really just working on my prerequisites and got to a point where I said, God, what is your will? Where is this all going? What do you want from me? Um, so to back up a little bit, my some of the assumptions that I played in up to this point was that a pastoral position is the most blessed thing you could do. That it's really the most commendable. It's the most honorable, and also feeling that I have a call towards high school ministry, an urgency and a passion towards that. Feeling a calling and an assumption that this must be in vocational leadership. This must be in a pastoral role where I'm getting paid to do that. So some stakeholders that you could say that were involved in this paradigm were involved in this dilemma were certainly my community at large, my church, my city, the Valley of Puyallup. These are people that I minister to, the students around that area, the adults, even in the families. They were definitely a stakeholder. My employer, the people that I work for. I mean, if I end up working for somebody else, will they have a concern about that? And legitimately so. And of course, my wife, my family, my son, any future kids that I might have, they would be stakeholders in this predicament as well. So this is really for me a right versus right. So I could pursue ministry. I could have a pastoral role. I could have it definitely an eternal influence in others' lives for the long run. Or I can pursue business. I can pursue business, get a much better wage. I can have a better provision for my family, better job security, college fund, things that that parents are concerned about, and certainly promotions and things like that would help. So this is certainly a right versus right. Both of them could be beneficial decisions, and it's care based. I mean, it's because I care about my family. It's because I care about my community that this is a concern to me, and it presents an ethical dilemma. So also for me, discerning God's will, whether it's a sovereign will or whether it's a flexible will, really it was a concern to me. Okay, God, my largest fear, my biggest fear as a Christian is, God, I want to do your will and I don't want to miss it. So how can I ensure that through prayer and through analytical thought and reasoning and conversations that I'm doing your best will, your will for me? So why it was a dilemma for me at age 15, I ended up accepting Christ into my life. And it was after a stint of 3 years of alcohol abuse and drug abuse and trouble with the law and a few years of probation. And finally I got to a point where God spoke to me and God redeemed me and brought me unto himself. And I said, man, I have a passion now to reach back, to reach out to those high school students that were like me, that others didn't want to necessarily minister to, that were maybe offensive in their nature or their demeanor. So that became my passion. That became a point of conflict for me, where I said, God, I want to do this with the rest of my life. I want to pursue my high school ministry with my life, but I wasn't really sure what that looks like, but feeling a call to serve. So over the next 10 years, actually, I continued to apply for positions at my church. Actually, position opened up 4 times within the pastoral ministry and the student ministries, and I applied for it every time, and every time I hit a brick wall, and this wasn't seeming to work. And so it was really a point of praying to God and saying, okay, God, like every time this happens, I have more and more of a peace that maybe you have something else going on for me. Maybe it's not quite what I thought it looked like. And so for me, around that time was the same time I switched to a business degree, and said, you know what, God, I really feel a peace about this. I really feel like a business degree is very applicable towards ministry. I feel like a lot of pastors don't know how to manage business, don't have very good leadership qualities, but they have a heart to serve, and they have a heart to pastor, and they have a heart for God, and that counts, and that's worth something. But they don't really know how to manage, and if I don't end up in pastoral ministry, well, then I'll end up in business, and the business management degree, of course, will certainly help. So so I just continued to serve in that area and said, if God, if you want me to be a lay pastor, then that's what I'll do. And if later on you call me towards pastoral ministry vocationally, then of course I'm okay with that. So while I'm going through this paradigm in ministry, and while I'm wrestling through that with my family, meanwhile at work I'm getting promotion after promotion, and while I'm wrestling with these things and applying for jobs in ministry, my work is continually promoting me, taking me from lead after 4 months with a Fortune 50 company. Became lead 2 months later, became a foreman 6 months after that, and now applying for superintendent positions upon the request of the general manager. Actually, a few of them at the company that I am at now. So it's really been a blessing to say, God, I didn't know where all this was going, and I was just struggling between, am I going to pursue pastoral ministry? Am I going to pursue business? Am I going to pursue a business degree, or am I going to pursue a ministry leadership degree? And I think oftentimes we want to confine ourselves into a stereotypical way that we can understand what life should look like. I'm going to play this position. I'm going to have this vocational role. It's going to look like this 5, 10, 15, 20 years from now. And yet wanting to yield that to God. So where am I at now is, well, we're almost graduated with school, praise God. I'm very confident in where I'm at right now, even though I had an ethical, dilemma at the time, and it's still a process. I've been able to yield that to God to say, okay, I trust in where you're taking me in this process, and I'm excited about that. So, and finally, it's a matter that I'm still yielding to God. It's saying, God, this is where I've gone from here. I'm confident in that. I thank you for your grace and your provision, and I'm humbled in that. But it's a matter of still yielding to God and saying, God, I believe that I'm where you want me to be at today, in Vegas at the training center, and this place with my company, and this place with my family, and in this place continuing to serve as a layman in ministry. But I'm going to continue to surrender every day to you and yield that to you, and say, every ethical dilemma I have, every predicament, I'm going to surrender that to you, and have faith that by your grace that you're going to take me where you want me to be from there. So, and yeah, thanks for your time. I know I ran a little bit over there, but I appreciate your time to listen to me, and I'll see you soon in strategic management.